Jim.
I'm Rhenda.
We're Hardiness Approach, and we want to tell you a story. You want me to start?
You want me to start?
I'll start. How about if I start? In 2011, we had been working in a company that our son had. He owned a company with his partner, and they needed somebody to...
Okay, do that again, only just like a little bit faster. So that
okay.
Yeah, thank you. That's good.
In 2011, we were working for a son. He had a company that needed to be managed. Things hadn't went as well as they wanted it to go. It wasn't being managed very well, and it wasn't being profitable. Anyway, we started to manage it, turning it around, and in the process found out that, a year, 2 years before, he and his partner had bought 5 acres, well, a couple different parcels, but one of them was 5 acres at an auction, land auction. I mean, they got it for hardly anything. They never went to see it. They didn't even know where it was for sure.
We're like, are you kidding me? People who really would like to be on the land. And so we found out it was an hour north of us. We got all the directions to go see it, and we saw it. Well, it wasn't just raw land.
Well, first of all, we were in southern Utah, and so this was it was north of us, so it was a ways. So it wasn't desert, but it was close to the desert. It was dry. It was sagebrush.
Desert.
Well, it wasn't desert like 110 degrees every day during the summer.
No, just 101.
Yeah, dry, although it was a high enough elevation that during the winter it was cold. And from where it's set, the way that the mountains were set up is we had winds from sometime in February until like July, and we're talking
60 miles an hour.
It might slow down into the 20s, but it was always blowing.
Well, let me just go back and say what we found there. We didn't just find raw land. We found
this is what's cool.
A little house.
We thought they had just some sagebrush, but when we got there, wow.
There was a little shack. There was a travel trailer. There was an old car. There's tons of junk.
There was a little barn building too.
Oh, a little barn building too. But there was a telephone pole with electricity connected.
An electric pole.
Electric pole. And there was a well with a well in it. So they had bought land sight unseen with electricity and a well. It was amazing. So we asked them, can we fix it up?
And live there.
And so they said yes. So for 9 months, we went up that hour every single Saturday.
We partially understood what that meant. Can we live there? I mean, it was... But we had an RV.
Yeah, we had a motorhome. So every Saturday, we went up there and worked from... In fact, sometimes on Friday night, we'd go and we'd just sleep in the car and get up and work the next day.
Yeah.
So... we worked.
A lot of cleanup.
We cleaned up. We worked. I can't even explain the piles and piles and piles of junk.
Hard work, heavy things. Some of it dangerous. One of us got hurt working on it.
Who?
Yeah.
Me. Well, anyway, for 9 months we did this. And really the land was completely dead. The only thing we found on this land was...
While we were doing all these cleanup.
1 tarantula and 2 snakes. No worms, no deer, no prairie dogs.
You know where we found the snakes? I think it was in a wood pile, and there were the remnants of a colony of bees having been there. Their comb was there. No bees to be. You know, when we first went there, though, we did see some bees, but they left.
They left when they saw us.
Yeah. So, where are we going now?
So, after 9 months, we took our RV and we moved in.
When the weather got warm enough, because it was pretty cold in the winter, so we waited until it started warming up before we took it up there.
Because this place had extreme lows of 30 below and highs of up to 105 or whatever. It was
pretty wide swings in temperature.
Really high swings and heavy and high winds. We've never lived in a place where the topsoil was just gone. It would just blow away.
Well, the sagebrush, there had been nothing there to build up any type of topsoil on it. Organic material, it wasn't there. It just didn't exist.
So the shack was an absolute shack. And so we had our RV, no problem. We're going to live in the RV until we can build our house up on the hill or whatever. But the shack had a huge hole in the corner. Up on the hill? You know, the little knoll, 2 feet higher than we were at.
The high spot on the 5 acres.
And so there was a corner of the house, or the shack, that was just completely, it would snow or rain inside of it.
Yeah, the roof was gone. It had broken down.
So we learned how to fix roofs. And then we started taking the walls off and putting new walls on, and we made it into a storage room. And it was infested with mice. So we got cats so that the mice could go away.
Cats are great for getting rid of mice.
And then we brought out 4 chickens with us that had been our sons, and we'd been taking care of them. And one day we were gone, and 2 dogs came to our place and killed 2 of the chickens, and the other 2 were gone. Now later they came back one by one, those 2, and you could just tell that they'd been through trauma. No, we actually
found one that was stuck in some wire, rolled up wire fence. The dogs couldn't get to it, and it couldn't get out.
And it died.
Yeah, eventually.
We felt so bad because it was our first thing with animals, and we felt responsible, that it was our responsibility to keep these animals safe, and we hadn't. So one day we were at the farm store and impetuously found a dog, a puppy dog, a Great Pyrenees.
If any of you know the story of her and animals, if you go to the shelter or wherever they may be kept,
so whose dog?
She has a huge heart.
Whose dog did this?
He turned out to be my dog. He was more dog than you can handle.
He was a dog. He was a Great Pyrenees.
Keep going. You're doing good.
I don't know what the kind was.
What kind did you say you wanted?
Oh, Border Collie.
Yeah.
No, Border Collies are supposed to be little, but this was anything but little.
He was
tiny when we got him.
He was a Pyrenees with Border Collie coloring.
So when he stand up after he got big, his shoulders, his hands would come right up here, and his mouth was here. And he just loved Jim so much.
We were buds.
And he could bark. And so we had no more problem with predators on our property. Ever again.
He had a big, deep bark.
And he was just a big puppy dog. So what was the next animals we got?
Well, about the same time that we got the dog, we decided we wanted to get some broiler chickens. And so we got, we're living in our RV. We don't have a place to brood. I mean, it's still cold. We don't have a good place to brood them other than we had a big plastic tub sitting on one of the benches in our RV.
In the RV dining table, you know, the ones that make into a bed. Yeah.
So that's where we started.
Oliver would sit up on it to look at what these little fuzzy creatures were.
So having them there gave us enough time to get something set up and electricity figured out and so forth, so we could brood them a little bit more.
And we won't make this long, but bottom line of this story is we started with basically raw land and nothing there.
Well, having a well was a big deal.
He had to learn
electricity pulled in.
He had to learn how to fix the electric, learn how to fix the pump.
Well, no, back up. We had worked on a few homes. We had managed apartments. So over the years, I'd gathered a fair amount of experience. But I got to tell you, this really pushed my envelope, if you will, about doing more things. I mean, there was really nobody to turn to, and in many cases it was be cold, don't have a water, don't have garden, don't be able to take care of the animals if this particular thing doesn't get fixed. So it was a matter of solving the problems, whatever they might be.
So can I tell the stories of you fixing the couple of things when we needed help?
Sure.
Okay. So 2 different stories. We needed some. He was out in the well house, and he had worked on this well for so long, and remember, we didn't even tell you, this land had not been lived on for 16 years. So
everything was old to begin with and almost worn out and then set.
So we got the new holding tank, but
the pressure tank.
The pressure tank. But we didn't want to buy the pump. The pump was going to cost $1,500.
Well, we weren't sure we needed it.
Yeah. And so he got some replacement parts and just really worked and worked and worked. It seemed like for days on this. And he'd worried it to death. And he was in the well house. We had no water on the property. This was during that 9 months. And
it had been working and stopped. That's the issue.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Remember
we had gotten it going, then it had stopped.
Yeah, I was in the garden. I'm holding the water, and it starts coming out like this. It was the most amazing thing when the water first started coming out, but then it stopped. So all of a sudden, I'm in the garden, the future garden. It was just nothing.
We were worrying it to become a garden. we were hoping, wishing.
And all of a sudden, I thought, he needs help. So I knelt down and offered a prayer that he would be able to get this thing fixed. And within 5 minutes, I heard a hoop and a holler from the well house, and he says, "We got it!" And it was so cool. It was just...
It was an interesting learning experience, but I figured out how all the little gadgets and whatnot worked, so we got it going.
There were other nights where we were out at the electric pole at midnight working, trying to get warm. Just all different kinds of times, but we're not afraid to take on a homestead.
We had a great garden that first year.
We had an envious garden that first year.
It was fantastic. A lot of great food from it. A lot of food for our animals.
All of the...
Into that winter, just one more story on the challenges that you face. It was a cold January, and there was like a 10-day
30 below
stretch that was colder than they'd seen in a lot of years in that area. In the midst of it, our water line to the house stopped working, and I was concerned that the faucets I had installed them a couple different places.
The frost-free faucets.
The frost-free ones had allowed where they were connected to freeze because they were sticking up above ground and taking the cold down. So I tried to thaw them out. That didn't help. I tried everything, and the only option was to see if the pipe had frozen. And we were about 200 feet from the well house straight.
It was 300 when we actually did it.
Yeah,
300.
Anyway, it was a distance, and I wasn't exactly sure where the pipe was, but I had been digging some post holes, and it actually found a line that I suspected
PVC.
Was the water line. It was PVC. So, and I had marked it. I'd said, I better mark this so I don't lose this. And that was during the summer when we were putting up a fence. So I knew where to dig, and that was about halfway between the house and the pump house. So I dug down there, got a big enough hole on it. It's cold. I had to dig through the frozen ground, etc., etc. What a nightmare. But I got down to the pipe, cut it open, and there was ice both directions in this pipe. So the pipe was frozen in the middle, and it was only about 3 feet deep, which if you're not 30 degrees below that, if you're more like the normal temperatures for that area, 3 feet was probably okay. It was too much. So here we are in January. There's no way to get water. I mean, we don't have water. It was
the end of January.
Yeah, it was the end part of January.
Because we had a wonderful neighbor.
Yes.
Who came over with his little...
He had a cultivator, and so he dug a new line.
300 feet.
300 feet of this new line. We put it deep. And we got it in, and so on our anniversary...
That's why I know. It was on our 40th anniversary.
We were laying new pipe between the house and the well house. And, once we got it in, got it covered back up, got the water going, it was great.
Let me tell you the joy of water. Water is so important, and I guess that's why we were so adamant about getting a homestead where there's water. Because when we hadn't had water for so long and we went and turned the faucet on and water actually poured out, it is an exquisite joy to be able to have stuff. One more really quick story about...
We could go on and on.
I know. One more really quick story. We decided finally to move from the RV and turn the little house into a house.
The storage room.
The storage room into a house. It was 400 square feet. So the little room that had been a bedroom, we made into a walk-in closet. The one that had been the living room, we made our bedroom. And then the kitchen was awful beforehand. This is a picture of the kitchen beforehand. And then my sweetheart built an incredibly beautiful kitchen, and this is a picture of it after. And there's one thing missing from this. What you can't see is there's a little bathroom around the corner. But in this house, there is no shower. There's no bathtub. And we did not have any hooked up to our RV anymore. We weren't using the RV anymore.
Well, there was some challenges
with the sewer. And so for over a year, we took our baths in the kitchen with just a little tub of water that we would just sponge down. And finally in the summer, we made an outdoor shower so that we could go outside and take a real shower. And
we were a long ways from the neighbors. They would have had to use binoculars to see us.
So many people had no idea that we were living like that.
They do now.
They do now. They did anyway. But I was a nurse. I went to work every day. But I was clean. We were clean. We weren't, you know, it was just what we put up with.
Homesteading's hard. It doesn't have to be as hard as that was. What we're going to is going to be a lot of work, but a different kind of work. And so we're excited about it. What we're putting ourselves into now is it's palatial in comparison.
It has a shower.
But after that experience, what we really learned is that we want to produce food. We don't want to build a homestead. We want to take something that's capable of accomplishing what we want to accomplish. Now, there are some people who, being off-grid, building their own house, all of those are things that they want to do, and those are great. If that's what you want to do, we've considered that.
Been there, done that.
And we're opting not to. There are other things that we want to focus on, but your goals are what are important. But it can be done. At our age, it can be done. There's no reason to say, oh, I'm too old. Well, I'm not too old. You know, they're going to put me in the ground. I'll be too old at that point. But until then, I am not.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel, now is a really good time. We will see you on our live today at 5 Eastern time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, where we will have our contest come to an end, and we will tell you the state.
See if you can guess the state we're going to go to.
Right now, we're in a state of waiting.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.